Hi guys, in today's video I will be doing the analysis for the poem Disabled. You may get this poem on your paper 2 at Excel GCSE English. Okay, so let's get started with the poem. Let's start with the introduction. This poem is written by Wilfred Owen. This poem is about Owen's wounded soldier and the ghostly consequences of war. The poem elaborates on the dreadful impact soldiers face in war and how it impacts their life. And the title Disabled contrasts to a typical image of a healthy soldier and immediately gives the reader an image of an unhealthy, ill-looking person. So now, waiting for dark, this word dark is an euphemism for death. This is to highlight how depressed he is. This highlights, yes. And the author describes the effects of war on the soldier using the alliteration ghastly suit of grey, which creates a ghostly imagery and tells the reader how dependent he is. And also, I'll not be writing much. I'll just highlight things every now and then. You'll have to make notes for yourself. And tells the reader how depressed he is. The fact that he's soon shot at elbow shows that he does not have any arms and highlights how dependent he is. His sorrow is further highlighted in the phrase voices of boys rang saddening like him. It brings negativity as he can't even find happiness looking at other people being happy. The metaphor sleep had mothered them from him reflects on how sleep is the only thing that brings him comfort like a mother does to a child. And the anonymity on the soldier throughout the poem, as the author refers to him as he, suggests how the poem may appeal to soldiers all over the world. In the next stanza, the author gives a gist of his past life. He uses romantic imagery to describe his life before war. The metaphorical expression, when glow lamps budded in light blue trees, creates a picture of him as a young, healthy soldier. The alliteration girls glance lovelier signifies playfulness and flirtatiousness. The hyphen over here it indicates a transition in tone, changes from light and happy to sad and unhappy. The phrase in old times, um, before he threw away his knees, juxtaposes to his past where he is content. The fact that he threw away his knees shows that he has realized his mistake in going to the war at a young age. As going to the war had been the biggest mistake of his life. The phrase all of them touched him like some queer disease is ironic as he went to war to please his girlfriend Mick, who now looks at him like some abnormal disease. Um, Later on, the author goes on to describe an artist who is conscious, um, and in this paragraph he describes how the how people's how at least this artist's life, this artist's youth was passed in the war, who was also impacted by the late. So the author goes on to talk about an artist who was also impacted by the harrowing effects of war. The phrase "there was an artist silly for his face" shows that the artist was conscious and highlights his shallowness and naivety before war. So the metaphor "he lost his color very far from here" indicates his loss of youth and connotes the harshness of war and how it had impacted his life. The phrases poured it down shell hose half his lifetime lapsed in the hot race further signifies the harrowing effects of war and how it had sucked the life out of him. The visual imagery leap of purple spurted from his thigh signifies blood. And this contrasts to his injury before in this contrasts to the stanza before where he was happy. Um, in the next stanza, the author um, the author again highlights the soldier's naivety. Over here it says he liked a blood smear down his leg. This is ironic because at the end this is just like a small wound, and at the end he actually loses his legs and arms. It just shows how naive he was before going to war. And this phrase shows the importance placed upon sports compared to war. So in later on in the poem we get to know that only one man even comes to care about him, to even talk to him, and to even ask him how he was. This just shows contrast between sports and war. So the fact that he has drunk a peg, it shows that this was a decision made impulsively. He did not think it through. He was drunk, and then he just thought of all these good things that he might get, and he did not think of all the bad things he will face in going to war. These are all the reasons so now for why he wants to go to war. To please his Meg, I would say that this is ironic because at the end we know that Meg and all the other girls look at him like some queer disease and they don't even care about him. But she is one of the reasons for why he chose to war, and she is one of the reasons for why he is in this really bad condition right now, where he has lost his arms. So this is again reasons for why he wants to go to war, and he did not have to beg. This shows the cruelty of the people. I mean, and this sentence further highlights the cruelty of the people because they obviously lied, and they just putting a small boy, they just signing up a small boy into war. Um, so um, so his reasons to go to war to please make he look like a god and kills further highlights his naivety in the past, as war has more in it than just smart salutes and uniform. The shallowness and naivety of the soldier is highlighted a number of times, which signifies his immaturity to go to war, for jeweled hills, smart salutes, and drums and cheers without thinking it through, which is the reason for why he has lost his hands and legs. In the next paragraph, the shortest paragraph in the poem signified how short lived his glory is. The author contrasts sports and war when he says some cheered him gold but not as crowds cheered gold, which also highlights the heartlessness of the people, as fighting in a war involves more hard work than football. The fact that only one man came to enquire him again contrasts war and sports to how he was carried shoulder high in a football match. In the next stanza, the tone is again sorrow and regret. The author goes on to talk about how the soldier is the pity of the government. The fact that the woman's eyes passed from him to the strong men that were whole contrasts to the past where the girls were friendlier to him. The use of the rhetorical devices, why don't they put him into bed, why don't they come, are a euphemism for death. He yearns an answer, it be death or sleep, which further emphasizes the hopelessness of the poor veteran. Lastly, the poem is structured chronologically without much rhyming words. The author juxtaposes remembrance and realization throughout the poem as he contrasts the past and the present. Overall, Owen uses numerous literary devices such as imagery, simile, and metaphor to inform the reader of the harrowing effects of war. Okay guys, that's all I have for this video. I hope it was helpful. I'm sorry I could not really make much notes over here. It was just mostly me reading.